millions of vulnerable Americans struggle to get reliable transportation to their medical appointments. That's why I started MedHall. Citi launched the Impact Fund to invest in both women and entrepreneurs of color like me so I can realize my vision and give everything I've got to my company and my community. I got you.
For the love of people, for the love of community, for the love of progress. Citi.
Welcome to the PaleyFest Fall TV Previews. I'm Emily Zlanian of TV Guide Magazine and TVinsider.com, and I'm delighted to be your host for this special conversation celebrating Peacock's One of Us is Lying, which premieres on October 7th. Thanks to PaleyFest's official card and official sponsor, Citi, for helping to make the event possible. Today, we are thrilled to welcome the members of the series' gifted creative team. Please welcome cast members Marianne Tejada, who plays Bronwyn, Cooper Van Grudel, who plays Nate, Annalisa Cochran, who plays Addie, Chibuikam Uche, who plays Cooper, Mark McKenna, who plays Simon, and please also welcome showrunner and executive producer Dario Madrona and executive producer John Sacchi. Hey, everybody.
What's up?
So before we jump into all of these amazing teen characters that we're going to meet, on this just crazy murder mystery that I can't wait for people to see, because this show is just such a great character-driven story. Before we get into all that, though, I'd love for our executive producers, Dario and John, just to speak a little bit about why you wanted to turn Karen M. McManus's YA bestseller into a series.
Well, I can go first and Dario can add. Obviously, when Matt, my producing partner, and I got our hands on the book, obviously the read was thoroughly enjoyable. But I think what most importantly, aside from having such a compelling mystery at its core, it really kind of told the story of 4 teenagers, actually 5 with Simon, that are going through kind of a lot of teen struggles. And I think it really kind of peeled back kind of the stereotypes and kind of really delved into teaching and telling who everybody really is and kind of really discovering one person's true worth in their place.
Yeah, I came into the project a little bit later, like when the pilot had already been shot. And what attracted me to the project is the fact that, as you said, it's a great mystery. It's also very, very character based, and I think it's more grounded than most of the mysteries you see teen dramas nowadays, and that is really attractive. I think the fact that we focus so much on the characters without losing focus of the mystery is a really tricky balance that is very exciting as a creator, but also as a viewer.
Now let's talk about these characters, or should I say suspects, honestly. Now, this is not a spoiler to say, I don't believe right off the bat we meet these characters, and all 5 of them wind up in detention, but only 4 of them are actually going to leave the detention, because by the end of it, our amazing About That gossip mag outcast Simon has not survived detention, let's just say. So Mark, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about Simon, who of course we'll also still see plenty of times throughout the series in flashbacks and whatnot else. What's he all about?
Simon is kind of this school brainiac who believes that he is so true to himself, and kind of doesn't like seeing other people who aren't true to themselves and kind of put on some sort of fake persona to gain popularity of any sort. So he starts this blog, and the whole purpose of this blog is to just out people's secrets that they wouldn't want anybody knowing, things that they hide from the public to kind of keep up their persona. And his whole identity, it kind of revolves around this app and his hatred of fake people. And he kind of gets a little bit carried away, and somebody doesn't like how carried away he gets, so he winds up pretty dead.
Very dead indeed.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a new age, like Holden Caulfield. I know there's a very funny joke that I don't want to spoil that's like in the first episode about comparing him, but he's just such an interesting character. I love that. And I'm glad that we get more of you after your death as well, because that would be a shame.
Yeah. I mean, Do we? Who knows?
Oh. Let's talk about some of the suspects in the room, because there were 4 other students with Simon in detention from various cliques who are all kind of in this sticky situation after his death. Marianne Lee, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. I think Mark really, it's really good to segue from him because, like he said, I don't think as a character, these other 4 kids are aware that they're really not being true to themselves, and they start sort of in a shell with the pressures of what people expect them to be, especially Bronwyn, who is your straight A student, and her future is her academics. She wants to get into Yale. And then because of this traumatic event that happens, and figuring out who did it, because I'm gonna go ahead and defend my girl here. She's fighting hard to find the person who did it so that she's not a suspect anymore. I think that, yeah, it's a great journey into starting from the pressures of what people expect from you into being your true self. And we see a beautiful journey with all of these characters.
I played Nate McCauley, and I feel like, Nate's someone who obviously is, I think he's a complicated character. I think he gets judged for being this bad boy drug dealer when obviously he's got a lot going on underneath all this exterior. I think he's got a very hard shell. He tries to, people have this idea of him when in reality he has a terrible home life. He's had a really bad upbringing, and so it was an honor to be able to explore those sort of complexities underneath Nate. And I think it's beautiful because throughout the whole series you see that shell kind of breaking away as our baby 4 kind of come together, and it's kind of like a weird situation that they're coming together, weird circumstances that they're kind of bonding together over. But I think that's what's so beautiful about the series, and I think it captures these archetypes really, really well.
Absolutely. All right. Next.
Mind if I take it off of kind of talking about archetypes? I play Addie Prentice, and she's kind of the teen movie John Hughes princess archetype. She kind of seems to have it all perfect on the surface, right? Cheerleader, hot boyfriend, popular group of friends. But underneath all of that, just like all of these characters, she's holding so much of her own insecurities and nerves, and she's just trying so hard to keep these cracks in her life together. And she's got this kind of overbearing mother forcing her to be something that she doesn't want to be. And society, she feels like society in this group that she's in is forcing her to be this thing. And, you'll see kind of the breakdown of her. And we kind of, even before Simon's death, we're leading up to her breakdown. No one can hold that perfectness forever, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, as she goes through and as she becomes a murder suspect, and it's just really, really, really cool to see kind of her break free of, I guess, societal norms or what her group thinks that she should be through the friendship of these 4 other characters. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And can I just say that her mom is the worst.
Horrible.
The things that she said to her, I was appalled every time, in the best, most entertaining way possible. But I love how they're not absentee. Kind of in some circumstances they are, but we get to see the parents on screen for these teenagers, which you don't always get in a teenage drama. So I do love that, even though, oh my God, I feel so bad for Addie.
For all of them, they're all dealing with their parents' expectations.
They definitely all have parent issues. Excuse me. Chib, you want to tell us about Cooper, our future baseball player?
Well, you kind of hit it on the head there. I play Cooper Clay, and he's a transfer student. So he just arrived in Bayview from Mississippi last year, and he is known as this hot shot baseball player. He's on his way to signing a major league deal. So, as if high school isn't hard enough to navigate, he's got to deal with being the new kid, and he's got to deal with the pressure of being like the breadwinner in the family and being the person that his family is expecting to provide for all of them moving forward. And then on top of that, you lump on, just figuring out who he is and a murder mystery. So being a murder suspect. So there's a lot that he's going through, a lot that he's navigating. And just like the rest of the Baby Four, you just see him do his best and kind of crumble and try to pick up the pieces. And it's a wonderful journey, and a young man just discovering who his truest self is.
Absolutely. Now, all four of them have these secrets that were about to be exposed on about that right before Simon's death. So all four of them have tons of motive for this murder. Who of the Baby Four is affected the most by being a murder suspect and just dealing with all of this extra stress on top of being a teenager? Who crumbles the most, would we say?
I think like it's interesting because I know that at different points in this shoot, we've had periods where like the Baby Four will be together and we'll be talking, and it feels like everyone feels their character is crumbling the most. Maybe I would say maybe not Nate as much, but you could tell me if I'm wrong there, Cooper.
No,
But
I was thinking the same thing as well. I was like, I think like off the bat, I was like maybe Nate, but I mean, he really is kind of a prime suspect, and he's had to deal with the police and being the prime suspect in a lot of things. So I think Nate would be the least, I would say, but off your point again as well, yeah.
But yeah, it feels like everyone feels like they're going through the most, and so yeah, it's interesting to see everybody navigate that pressure.
Yeah, and their breakdowns all happen in different ways. I mean, I think, like Addie loses maybe her group of friends, but then Cooper loses like yeah, I'm not allowed to say. we all have these different ways that we all break down, thanks to Simon and thanks to those secrets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it captures the pressures of high school very well. Like that's what this show does so well, and us as the actors portraying these characters, is that I think people are really going to enjoy seeing and empathize with these characters, as like with these characters as well, because high school is a struggle, and this is like this is a huge thing that they're all going through. So to some degree, we all have a pressure on us, obviously, because we're all prime suspects, and so the transformations that we all go through it's really beautiful. And I think a lot of people that are struggling in high school right now, or going through something, are going to be able to like know that they're not alone, and like it's okay not to be okay, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's
Right. Now, this is obviously based on a book. John and Dario, how closely would you say that you followed McManus's book when creating this adaptation?
I think we've been mostly pretty faithful to the book and the spirit of the book. I mean, obviously, when you adapt to a different medium, things change for sure, and we have to adapt the book to like 8 episodes of like 45 to 50 minutes. So things are always going to change. But I think we've been mostly faithful to the spirit of the book and what the book was trying to say. And I think the fans are going to recognize a lot of the beats that are in the book, but at the same time, hopefully, we're going to be able to surprise them with new stuff that is not there yet.
Awesome. Now, this next question comes from our festival sponsor, Citi. Now, this is for the cast. What most drew you to the script and being part of this exciting show?
Yeah, I'll start. Just going off and just talking about the book, I got this audition and I picked up the book after that first audition and read it before I had any other callbacks or anything. And that just Karen's words, she writes in first person perspective for each of these characters, and going so deeply into someone's inner psyche was so exciting as someone who like loves figuring out how people work, and was so exciting then to be able to portray that on screen and be able to portray these characters that are not two-dimensional. So often in TV, you don't have enough time to tell kind of the reasons a character does something. And I think that the show, because of the book, is able to say that. And so it all goes back to the book for me.
Nice.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just the complexity of the character. I think as actors, we want to be a part of compelling stories. We want to challenge ourselves. We don't want to play necessarily characters that we've seen or we know immediately that we can figure out. And so because these characters are so rich and they were so complex, it's like, whew, okay, there's a lot of layers to peel back here. And like, um, then each character being a part of this bigger community is like, okay, there are a lot of pieces here to make a really awesome story. And so you're just like, yeah, I want to be in it. I want to be a part of this universe. And then finding out like how massive the book was, it's also like, oh, okay, cool. So that there's a lot of people that are excited, and so it just makes it that much more interesting and to be a part of what we're creating here.
And I think going off your point as well, Chib, like the idea of we want to be playing complex characters. I mean, for me, I think Nate Macaulay, he comes across. So when I first read the brief, it was like, bad boy rides a motorcycle, and it seemed kind of brief. And I've played like kind of the bad boy stereotype before, and so at first I was actually a little skeptical. But then reading through like when I first got the sides, and then obviously like reading the book, I realized that there's a lot more to Nate than just like his exterior. And I think that was really cool. I think all these characters have some all have deep complexities and like complicated backgrounds, and so I think that's what drew me as well. He comes across as your typical bad boy, but there's a lot more underneath.
I think also the complexity of a character that is played or has to be played by a Latina actress. I think I haven't seen that enough in TV, or that I'm now starting to see more. And just to jump on that and be a part of it is an honor, and I feel the luckiest. And I have to say that when I read the pilot, which was the thing that I first read before the book, there was just something so palpable about the chemistry of these characters. And I was just so in love with Bronwyn and Nate's story that I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so juicy. And I can't believe that I'm getting to read for this. And then sure enough, I didn't want to read the book until I knew if I got the part, because I didn't want to jinx it. I don't know. So I knew I got the part, and then I read the book, and there was even more of that visceral feeling in the book of, these characters are wiser beyond their years. They're very complex. You do start with archetypes, but then you see that, their humanity and that they're not perfect all the time. And you almost at times, you don't like them that much. And I think that's just so brilliant to have as an actor to play off of.
For me, it was very much so. I'd always wanted to play a villain. I always thought that was exciting. Typically in high school shows or movies, the villain is a bully who's kind of physically just big and beats up kids, and obviously I'm not going to play that. So for me, it was just quite exciting to be able to play someone who kind of uses his intelligence and is physically smaller than everyone else, and to bully them. And I almost feel like Simon's the type of villain that if he was older, I feel like he'd have like henchmen of some sort. I feel like he would pay off other students to do the physical work while he'd just work on the app.
I could definitely see that. And since we were talking about the book a little bit earlier, I have to say I tore through that book in like one day. Like that was one of the ones, like, you guys were probably like taking notes about your characters and all that stuff, but I feel like I like ripped through that one. I don't know about you guys, but like it's just such a fast-paced read, and I am totally seeing the same thing for this show, which is awesome. But I'm so excited for all you guys. But for our EPs, or if anyone else wants to jump in on this, if you had to describe One of Us Is Lying using only other show or movie titles, how would you describe this show?
That's a good question.
I'll let you think. There's a couple like right at the surface for me, but
is this like a comparison type thing, or
yeah, like a lengthy blank.
Well, then
the Breakfast Club is clearly there. You know,
Gossip
the idea
Girl
of like
has
the
to
fight
be
kiss.
in there somewhere.
Yeah.
This is Gossip Guy. Like,
It's Gossip Guy meets the Breakfast Club, I guess would be a good definition of it. With a little bit of like, I know that Karen is a big fan of Agatha Christie, and obviously, you know, she's like the grandmother or like the murder mysteries that we know. So a little bit of that sprinkle in it as well.
And on top of that, I'll just snowball Shakespeare, maybe Romeo and Juliet, just for Bronwyn and Nate.
That's
And there's other love stories that people are just gonna be obsessed about.
That's a very good tease. I love that. I feel like this one has to get mentioned. Pretty Little Liars too. Like Simon is like if you took Gossip Girl and A and like mashed them together almost to me a little bit. It's very, very interesting. But I love that. Did you have anything to add, John? You looked like you were thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I obviously, as Dario said, the Breakfast Club is what's often compared to it because it's like this coming of age kind of evolution of these characters to find their true being. But I think as Dario pointed out so well earlier, it's this really wonderful character piece, but it's interwoven with this compelling murder mystery. So I was just trying to find, like, you know, we've often talked about like The Killing and other shows like that have this like really compelling story at the core that's really driving and propelling you to want to watch the next episode. So I guess it was like Breakfast Club meets that kind of compelling mystery that we're all talked about. So
I love it. Awesome. Now, there's a couple other storylines that we haven't quite touched on yet. And I love a good mini tease. I know we can't talk too in depth about some of this stuff because folks will not have seen the show before they see this panel. But I was wondering if we could just go around the Zoom and if you could say in 3 words or less something coming up that you can't wait for viewers to see.
There's a relationship from 2 characters that are in the book, but I don't think they even cross paths or talk ever in the book at all. And they have a bond in our show that is really beautiful that I can't wait for people to see. That was more than 3 words. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'll take more. I just didn't want to be greedy.
Mine will be 4 words, but I'll just say Cooper and Nate's friend. I think that'll, something I look forward to everyone getting a chance to meet and see.
I mean, I was gonna say that I know we talked a lot about how Simon dies at the beginning, but I think it's like I'm most excited for people to see, you know, the discovery of his character as it's told through the flashbacks through the series, because I find that it really is not only compelling, but also really kind of drives the individual storylines of our characters' lives in a very fascinating way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that, so I'm going to go with the same answer.
I spoke for you, Mark.
I'd rather you say it than me. You'll get in less trouble.
Cooper Clay romance. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh, he's calling you out.
What on earth could you be talking about? I don't know.
I mean, I assume everyone has some level of romance in this show. It wouldn't be like a teen soap without that.
No, it wouldn't be. So I agree. Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for everyone to see Cooper Clay's romance.
I'm gonna say like human growth and transformation.
Yeah. Going off of that, change and unexpected friendships or more.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Now we've talked about the storyline a lot, but I wanted to just ask about the production really quickly. What did you guys face any sort of like dilemmas when creating the show? I don't know when you guys shot. Was it during the pandemic? I mean, we're still in the pandemic, but you know, was it at the height? And what other production dilemmas did you face while putting this together?
Who wants to go first?
I think you are going first, John.
I mean, obviously shooting during a pandemic presents obvious challenges, and I think every production experiences and perseveres in their own way. I think this show has been unique in that, we shot the pilot in Vancouver, and then there was a pandemic that hit, and then we shot the remaining series in New Zealand, which was a country that many of us hadn't shot in before or experienced. And I think going through that experience during the pandemic was challenging for all the obvious reasons of shooting a show, but also it just was like a mental challenge as well, to be far away and be able to kind of go finish that marathon, as we often say, until to the very end. So, but the productions and the experience in New Zealand was wonderful, and the people there are incredible. So it made our experiences there memorable for the most part.
Very cool. Dario, did you have anything to add?
No, I think Jon said it all. Like it was a challenge for me personally. Like it's my first American production. The first time I shot in New Zealand, I actually haven't met in person any of the people I work with in the show until I actually met them there on the ground. But it's been and I think I can speak for everyone when I say that it's been an experience, but an incredible, amazing experience. And we've been lucky to be able to shoot in a country that until very recently didn't have any COVID issues. So even if we had, we follow protocols on set and everything, but outside of set, we were able to lead like almost normal pre-COVID life.
Yeah, and get to explore the beautiful New Zealand, like everything. That's awesome.
So some people did.
Hopefully. Cooper, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like one kind of hurdle would be shooting a show set in the summertime in a location where it's winter, where it's cold and rainy. But I mean, you can't even tell. I mean, the show does such a great, and like all the lighting and the camera work. I mean, it does such a great job at portraying like a warm summertime very, very well. I feel like maybe that was one hurdle. Sometimes like when it would rain, we'd have to stop production for a little bit. You get like the umbrellas, everyone would bring like coats, make sure that you stay dry and everything. But I mean, yeah, just going off of what Jon and Dario said, it's been a pleasure, and it's been an amazing experience to be out here in New Zealand and to get the opportunity to shoot a TV show with all you lovely cats too. I love and adore all of you. Sorry, I just had to put that.
And it rains in summer, so it's fine.
This is true.
It's raining all the time in this show, by the way. All the time. It's like Gotham. It's always nighttime as well. It's terrible.
I mean, it is a murder mystery. That kind of fits the MO for that. Like rain and gloom, like absolutely. I think that's. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add about their characters or the show or anything else before we wrap up?
I just want to say, just as part of the producing team, it's been a pleasure to work with this cast, because they've been in it and they've given it their all from the beginning, and obviously to work with the fantastic writing teams led by Dario. But I'm just excited for everybody to see this, because we've worked on it for such a long time. It obviously comes from a very compelling and popular source material, but I think we've done it well, and I'm excited for everyone to see the story and learn how our characters evolve during the series.
Very well said. I cannot wait for everybody to see and meet all of these characters. They are just so interesting. There's so much great material for you guys to work with, and you guys do it wonderfully. So I'm very excited for this. So just to wrap up, thank you everybody for joining us for the special PaleyFest Fall TV previews conversation with members of the wonderful creative team behind Peacock's One of Us is Lying. Everyone go check the show out on October 7th. Thanks to PaleyFest's official card and official sponsor, Citi. You can learn more about the Paley Center by visiting paleycenter.org. Thanks and take care. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.